Welcome to the AFC West Roundtable, a weekly live show featuring top-tier insight and analysis on all things AFC West. From the best creators in the division, including Denver Broncos creator Ryan, Kansas City Chiefs creator Marcus, Las Vegas Raiders creator Samoan, and Los Angeles Chargers creators Bolt Bros. Catch the AFC West Roundtable every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on the AFC West Roundtable YouTube channel. AFC West Roundtable, welcome back into another edition here of the AFC West Roundtable, a show brought to you by Roundtable Sports. We got so much to get into for you guys today because the 2025 NFL regular season has officially come to an end, meaning that for half this panel, they're already looking at the offseason. They're in Cancun, they're looking at free agency, doing their mock drafts. Where do these teams go and the Raiders and Chiefs go moving forward? But of course, we also have the two guys at the top of the division. We got our guy Andrew and the Chargers. We got Ryan and the Broncos still in the postseason race. Some of the things we're going to be talking about here today is probably the biggest move, the biggest news of the week in division for the AFC West in Pete Carroll being fired. We're going to take a look here at Week 18, still go over these games, get these guys' final thoughts here. Maybe talk a little bit about those Kansas City Chiefs. Does Travis Kelce officially retire? And then, of course, at the end of today's episode, talking about the only in-division matchup, or not in-division, but rather only postseason matchup that we're going to have here for the AFC West in the Chargers and the Patriots. So much to get into today, so let's go around the table real quick and see how these guys are feeling with the season officially being closed. Ryan, you got the number one seed. You guys have a first round bye. The playoffs officially go through Denver. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm really happy that we finally got the first seed in the AFC. Man, 10 years. 10 years of pain, misery, just garbage football, head coaches, quarterbacks, and we're finally back at the one seed. So that was nice. The way the game went, not exactly as nice. I mean, the score looked like it wasn't a close margin, but it did kind of feel closer for most of the game. Some people, they want to say that Sean, kept it conservative because we could face the Chargers if they beat your Patriots in the divisional. So, not wanting to show too much. I wasn't really believing that at first, but then the amount of times that I saw Bo just tuck the ball and run, I was like, okay, I feel like they're coaching him just to be safe, and they're just playing to not lose the game and just get the field goals. And but yeah, it wasn't good to see that the offense didn't really show out like they against the backups like they did against Kansas City last year. But hey, we beat the shit out of Kansas City's backups last year, and then we got the shit beaten out of us by the Bills. So I guess it doesn't really translate ultimately as long as they get the job done in the postseason. But it's nice to have a week off. We need a lot of guys to get healthy, and so that I think that's going to benefit us a lot. And the fact that the playoffs go through Denver for at least a divisional. So yeah, I'm happy.
And like you said, too, that can be a massive advantage for a team when they do get that number one seed. And obviously, the biggest thing you have to do is you'd have to come out of that bye week and you have to win. You have to use that bye week correctly. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Denver Broncos do with that bye week, because there's some teams who use the bye and they get out of that football shape and out of that football mindset. But then there's some people who use the bye week the way that it's supposed to. Extra preparation, extra rest. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Denver's able to use this advantage. But Andrew, let's go on over to you. You guys are in the postseason. We've known this for a while. You now know your matchup. How you feeling? I mean, a lot of injuries. I feel like this was a very up and down season for the Chargers. You started off the season as arguably Super Bowl favorites here for the AFC, and then injuries plagued you guys with a lot of inconsistencies throughout the year. So how you feeling now that it's all wrapped up?
Yeah, I think it really started with Rashawn Slater going down in camp, right? Literally after he became the most high-paid tackle in the NFL. What was it, like 5 days later, he goes down with an season-ending injury, and who knows if he's going to be able to be back week one this next season. It's that bad. So patellar tendon injury. But bottom line, this coaching staff, you at least have to get them kudos for getting that offensive line halfway decent. Again, losing Joe Alt, in 5 games this season. So it's exciting to see where we're at. I think Justin Herbert's had a lot to do with that. He's a person that's been hit. I just saw a statistic on that he's been hit almost 130 times, which is a NFL this season, the highest amount of hits that he's ever of any NFL quarterback this season. And he still gets up and does a good job passing. So I'm excited to see what this Chargers team could do. The defense has definitely done a great job. Ryan outlined it perfectly. Our backups did a great job against the ones for the Broncos. So to me, I look at it like as long as that defense can start playing as solidly, I think they're going to be in every game. I think Justin Herbert, no matter what, is going to you're going to see a lot of Herbert this year. I think he's finally ready. He's finally leveled his game up, and man, I'm excited to see what he can do in the postseason again. But like I outlined last week, our offensive line is going to be our Achilles heel. So I think we match up well with the Patriots. Talk more about that a little bit later on, but I'm excited to see what happens.
Hey, defense wins championships, and defense certainly keeps games when that offense is dealing with some of those inconsistencies. So going to be really important that top 10 defense that the Chargers has definitely steps up come postseason time. But Marcus, let's go down to you, man. I mean, we talked about it heading into week 18. We're like, all right, I mean, if you win this game, in a lot of ways, it's technically a loss. So in a lot of ways, Marcus, you're coming off of a big win here, man. It's on to Cancun. It's on to Cancun, my friend. How are you feeling after obviously just a very disappointing 2025 season?
I feel like, yeah, it was a horrible season, but, you know, we got a lottery ticket in the end. Was not expecting for us to be this bad, but if you're going to be bad, like Magic Johnson said, if you're going to be bad, be really bad. And at the end of the season, putting 1 million guys on IR, Andy Reid calling a timeout with 17 seconds left in that game so the Raiders could kind of get their bearings and then kick a field goal at the end to put them over the top against us. I mean, hey, I'm excited about it, and it's not often I get a brushed off my Brady Quinn number 9 jersey, but nice pick, baby. Here we go.
Wow, there we go.
I'm excited about. I mean, the guys we can get. I mean, because we haven't had this type of pick in the top 10 to be looking at blue chipper type guys. We usually were at the end of the first round looking at guys, like a top edge rusher or top tackle in their position at pick 31 or 32. Now we can go for a lot of different avenues at number 9. So I'm really excited about this offseason.
A lot of opportunities, a lot of potential if you use that correctly. Even if you guys do feel like there's a lot of holes on that Chiefs roster, maybe not even necessarily picking where you're at, trade down, getting multiple assets. Now you're really starting to build for the future, under a minimum cap wage. So let's go on over to you, Joe, filling in for our guy Samoan. Obviously, the big news there about Pete Carroll. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but just what were your overall thoughts about the Raiders season here in 2025?
Just a horrible season. Like, it just didn't go the way anybody expected it to. Just all 3 aspects of the game were horrible. Just went backwards this year instead of taking steps forward. But I mean, I like getting the win against the Kansas City Chiefs. It knocked off a couple things. The Raiders were on a 10-game losing streak. That's over, right? The Raiders were 0-11 going into in the AFC West in the last 2 years. Got that win right there. I mean, I don't care who it's against. You are ending these streaks, and it gives the young guys like Genty and some of these other young guys in the building, that winning feeling going into the offseason and looking forward to it. And it was just something. It was like a weight off our chest. Like, I forgot how it felt to win. I'll tell you guys that. Like, I didn't know what to do when the Raiders won the game. Like, I was like, wait, we won? Like, holy crap! So I mean, and the Chiefs were undefeated in Allegiant Stadium, so that's another record that you could take off right there. So there's 3 different things that you can look at in the positives, and the Raiders already had the number 1 pick locked up going into the game, so it just made it more relaxing. And go out there, play your guys' game, see what happens. And I mean, it was fun to just see I guess a preseason battle between the Raiders and the Chiefs, and see a field goal battle, and it was just an interesting experience. It's been an interesting experience this year. Let me just say that.
Hey, man, you got to win to end off a really disappointing season. You still have the first overall pick, so in a lot of ways, maybe it was a pretty good week for the Raiders, and a lot to still talk about where this team goes in the offseason. But before we do that, I want to give a big shout-out to one of the sponsors of the channel. That's our good friends over at Sleeper. Use the promo code you see on the screen, RTS, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit, meaning that you put down $100, you can easily turn that into $200 free to play with. If you know what you're doing, you can turn that into some serious cash right now with Sleeper. Now, terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details, currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Link in the description box below. You guys are always out here sending super chats, liking the video, supporting us here at the AFC West Roundtable, and that means the absolute world to us. But if you guys want to go that extra mile and really help support every single creator here at Roundtable Sports, including every single creator you see right here, then remember that supporting the sponsors is a major way that we are allowed to have success here and take care of the guys here at Roundtable Sports. Again, a link in the description box below. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and let's get into the biggest storyline that I think everybody has been waiting for us to talk about, and that is the Las Vegas Raiders firing head coach Pete Carroll. There's been a lot of controversy around this one this season. Some Raiders fans saying you have to do it. Some Raiders fans saying, I do agree you have to do it, but I just don't think that they're going to. I think he inherited a bad roster. You got to give him a little bit more time, but looks like Tom Brady kind of stepped on the neck of Pete Carroll and said, we are not waiting any longer. We need to be better. And just what a year it's been, I would say, Joe, for the Raiders. You bring in Pete Carroll, who's had obviously Super Bowl experience, Super Bowl success, a lot of postseason success, one of the best head coaches to ever do it. You go ahead and you bring in a former quarterback that he has familiarity with, and just nothing goes right for you guys. So, Joe, I want to kick this one off to you. What led to the firing of Pete Carroll after just 1 year? And more specifically, what were your reactions to this move?
Well, I mean, you kind of felt this was coming. As a Raider fan, you've been calling for it since week 10, if not earlier for it. When Raiders hired Pete Carroll, everybody thought we were getting an adult in the building. We were getting a coach that was going to come in here and right the ship. But I think his stubbornness and the way that he just wouldn't admit that things were going wrong, it just got to the Raider fans. And him backing Geno Smith every week and saying that they were close and you know, messing with star players like JPJ and benching him and moving him positions. And you were making some people compete for jobs and some people not compete for jobs. And then your son is the offensive line coach who's having the most issues, and you're not doing anything about that. You'll fire your special team coach, you'll fire your offensive coordinator, but your son, the main problem, is still there. And reports are coming out about how offensive linemen and the quarterbacks and the running backs had to do their own little practice away from the coaches because of Brendan Carroll and his inability to be able to watch tape with them and do stuff like that. So it was just we thought we were getting an adult in the building. We didn't. Pete Carroll was just too stubborn. And Pete even said himself, I've never been in a situation like this. And yeah, because you've never been to a situation where this franchise has been losing for 20 plus years. We read through the BS that you coaches try to throw at us. And if you're not producing and you're not going out there, we're tired of the talk. We want to see results before you can go out there and just feed us the BS. I understand it, but the Raiders, we thank Pete Carroll for the number one pick. And I think once they knew that they had a chance at getting a quarterback, they were like, okay, we got to move on from Pete, because at the end of the day, he is 74 years old. And if you're going to rebuild, like they thought they were hiring him, and at the time, the age wasn't an issue because you were going to a fast rebuild. We're hopefully in 3 years by now we're there. But now that you realize, hey, the first year didn't go, you're 74, get on out, and we're gonna take that first overall pick. We're gonna draft a quarterback, and we're gonna go from there and build our franchise. But I mean, that's the only thing we can thank Pete for, right? Is that number one overall pick.
So, Joe, is there anybody that you're looking at right now? Now, obviously, it's very early in this process, but anybody that you're looking at in your head coaching vacancy that you would like to see the Raiders target?
I'm a lot different than a lot of Raider fans. A lot of Raider fans right now are screaming, Clint Kubiak. We want Kubiak. I have a lot of questions about Kubiak. You know, he's been with 5 different organizations. It's in the last 5 years. His quarterbacks have been good, but they've been Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, and now Sam Darnold, he's able to do it too. I have a lot of questions about Kubiak, and he's running. The only time he's actually succeeding as an offense coordinator is in the NFC West, where we already know the San Francisco offense runs pretty good there. So people are high on him. Right now, John Harbaugh got fired today. That's my number one candidate. He goes to the top of the list. Will he go to the division and want to play his brother? I doubt it. I think he'll be more of a fit in New York. But he would be that first phone call. My second phone call would be Kevin Stefanski. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I like the way that he was able to do stuff with the Browns. And then after that, I would look at anybody else. But I know a lot of people, like the main one today was Brian Flores. But if you go back and listen, if Ryan Fitzpatrick is talking bad about you, then I don't think you were that good of a coach, right? Brian Fitzpatrick comes out as a very nice guy, and he threw Brian Flores under the bus pretty much for his time in Miami. So it's just very interesting. But I think John Harbaugh should go to the top of your list, and then after that, you see what happens.
With that Brady connection, man, I could really see Flores being the head coach, and then you bring in like a Brian Daboll to run the offense. That just feels like a Tom Brady thing to do, but only time's going to tell, right? Only time is going to tell, and this process is just getting started. Let's get the opinions from the rest of the panel on what their reactions were to this move. Ryan, what did you think about this one?
I think it was a good move by the Raiders. I wasn't surprised. I assumed that they were probably going to do it, and it was a smart decision to make. Listen, I'm not saying Pete Carroll's not a good coach. I just think this situation at his age, he's not a rebuild guy. If they had a team almost like the Ravens, they got all these players on there, and let's say Harbaugh didn't exist, right? But the skill set and all the players existed. Maybe it'd be better for Pete to go into that situation where you already have all the skill set, you have all those guys. You don't need to do a complete rebuild, more of just guidance. But this is a different beast with the Raiders, and it's been dysfunctional for quite a long time. So I think they made the right decision with this and not wasting their time to try to let him rebuild everything, because I mean, the Broncos wasted so many years letting head coaches have 3 years, and it'd be the same thing year after year after year. I think Ben Johnson right now is showing you can't. I mean, granted, Chicago already did have some very good players and a good roster, but he is showing that with the right coaching, you can do a lot even with a subpar roster if you are a good coach. And I do think Pete Carroll could have done much more with the players that he had. Maybe it may be a lot of the fault of whether it's the offensive line being bad is on him as well. Didn't do enough in free agency. Didn't do enough just stacking players in other areas that they needed, or putting his son as the O-line coach and some of these other things that people were calling out for nepotism. But I think the Raiders actually did make a smart decision. It'll just be interesting to see who they hire now and if that is the right decision.
Yeah, right. If it's not your guy, then it's not your guy. And I think a lot of people might look at the move and say you have to give that guy multiple years. But if you really believe in your heart of hearts that guy is not going to be the future, then there's no reason in keeping that guy around, right? If you look at a team like the New England Patriots, this time last year, they surprisingly let go of a guy like Gerard Mayo that was only in year one of his head coaching tenure. But they went out and they got Mike Vrabel. Caused a lot of controversy, but clearly it worked out for them. And so might cause controversy at the time, but sometimes it just works out for organizations in the long run. Andrew, let's go on over to you. What were your reactions to this one?
Yeah, so I wasn't a huge fan of him getting fired just because I felt like I like Pete Carroll personally. This is my personal opinion. I do like him. I think he's great. He drafted well, too. I look at the Raiders draft. I was like, damn, that's actually a really good draft. Players I would have picked. So from a personnel perspective, I think Pete Carroll was doing a good job. From an actual performance perspective and maybe a locker room perspective and everything else that really mattered, clearly he wasn't doing a good enough job. Typically when I see coaches get fired, there's an element of maybe he lost the locker room. Maybe, they're just not buying in what he's saying. And so that's probably what happened. So if that's the case, then definitely that was the right call. Having said that, I've always said this too. If you fire your head coach, you probably already have somebody in mind for that spot, right? So they're already having conversations with somebody else. Who knows? John Harbaugh might be the guy. Stefanski might be the guy. Everyone that's been talked about so far is probably in discussions for that role anyways, right? You're probably, they're not making a decision just to say, okay, let's figure out who we want to go with. They probably already have a decent idea and probably already had some conversations. Having said that, the person also wants to come to the Raiders. The Raiders have not been exactly the best organization to be a head coach for. I mean, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it like every other year you guys have a new head coach? It says something about the organization in general and even the fan base, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. We're all fans. We all want teams to be successful, but you need to also let the coach have some time to, run his ship, right? And it's a little hard if somebody's micromanaging you from afar, and it seems like that might be happening at the Raiders organization. So I thought he did a great job drafting. Obviously, couldn't make it happen with some wins, but I think he also had a pretty crappy team, right? I mean, look, horrible offensive line. Geno Smith is not a good quarterback. Why did they think that he could be the guy? I don't know, but maybe, I'm going to be very curious to see who they get. I think John Harbaugh's a good guy. Stefanski's a good person, but boy, the Raiders are a dumpster fire organization, and everyone knows it, right? So we'll see who they could even get to take that head coaching role. It's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, and you better believe that Tom Brady is going to be doing his due diligence on this one after just made himself look like an absolute mockery year one there. So, he's going to be motivated to get this one right for sure. So, Marcus, let's go down to you. Wrap us up with this one. What were your reactions to this whole Pete Carroll situation? Do you think that it was a correct move?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like with Andrew, the fact that, I thought that Carroll was, an adult, bringing an adult to the room. You're going to have a savvy, old-time coach who's been, who knows how to win. But like with the whole the offensive line stuff, I mean, and the Jeremy Fowler released a report today that pretty much saying from like an unnamed Raiders player that everyone knew that his son was a joke, didn't know what the heck was going on. No one wanted to say anything because it's Pete's son, so no one was ever going to say anything. But I think the one thing that does come out of this, and I know they say Brady had a big hand in the hiring last year, but it seems like this year it's going to be more Spytek, kind of the guy to kind of run the show. And I think in that same Jeremy Fowler report, they also said that Spytek actually declined trades for JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, a guy who actually looked pretty good at center last year. They ended up moving him to guard. Didn't get much playing time. Carroll's regime did not like him for whatever reason. But Spytek was a big fan and actually declined some of the trades, blocked some of the trades that Carroll wanted to do with JPJ. So, I mean, it sounds like you do have a GM in the room with Spytek, a solid guy. I just think it's interesting, though, if they do go the Brian Flores route, and I know they say the Patriot way, like they tried that a couple of years ago, and it lasted 1.5 years. So,
exactly.
So that's the one thing where it doesn't really make sense. I mean, obviously Flores, I mean, he was a solid coach in Miami. So I don't know. I think it's a little different than McDaniels. But going with Flores and Daboll, it's similar to the whole Patriots way, which he did 2 years ago. I know it's a different brand, Flores versus McDaniels, but still, I think that's something that you've already done before. We've already watched that movie. So it's going to be interesting. But I think it was smart to kind of get rid of Carroll and kind of start fresh, whoever this new guy is. And I think I look at the track record. The last 3 coaches, McDaniels lasted a season and a half. Pierce lasted a season and a half if you include his interim last few games. And then Carroll lasted 1 season. So this next guy has to be your dude for a long period of time. So they'll probably take a good long time to think about this one. And they'll probably give this guy a long leash if it is a younger guy. So.
Yeah, certainly can't be another situation where the guy's there for about a year and then you're like, all right, we didn't get the results we want. Now that guy's going to kick tires. Sometimes you got to give that guy a little bit of time in the organization to really plant the seed the way that he wants, which ultimately does just take time. Things take time to grow in life. But so we kick it off to you guys. Let us know your thoughts about this move into the comment section below. Let's go ahead and let's just brisk past these week 18 games. Again, I know a lot of teams resting starters. A lot of these games didn't mean much, but do still want to kind of talk about them a little bit. Any of your guys' biggest takeaways, anything that could have long-term implications from these games, of course, we want to hear about. Let's start off with the Chargers and Denver Broncos game that probably had the most implications. As we know, the Broncos did ultimately win this one against the Chargers 19-3. Chargers resting the majority there of their starters. The Broncos playing a good amount of their starters to try to get that first overall seed, and they, of course, did. Ryan, let's start off with you. You talked about it a little bit earlier, but any other big takeaways from this one that you think could impact the Denver Broncos come postseason time?
I mean, just the fact that the offense didn't look good, and we started running the ball well in the beginning of the game. It was just extremely odd. It didn't look like we were trying to pass it whatsoever. I saw some posts on X of people saying like, "Hey guys, there's literally just no receivers that are open. Like this is just how it is." And I would have also liked our defense to get more pressure, especially against like the Chargers' backup O-line, because we haven't been getting a lot of sacks recently besides the Jaguars game, or typically we'll get the sacks, but not constant pressure. And we had Nick Bonito did have this a strip sack, but besides that, like, listen, all Broncos fans are comparing this defense to the Super Bowl 50. That Super Bowl 50 team, within 2 seconds, that pocket was collapsing. I don't see that this year with this team. Most of the time, quarterbacks have been able to just sit in there or run out pretty easily. But if what they're doing is just cage rushing and they're not going for the sacks and they're trying to make them play from the pocket, it is what it is. And now that we have the 1 seed, Vance Joseph is interviewing for head coaching jobs as well this week, which will be interesting. He can go. I don't care. Thank you, VJ, but I want to bring someone else here to do a little bit more with this defense. But overall, I mean, like it was a pretty stressful game, I'll be honest, because especially at halftime, I think we were only up like 10-3 maybe, and they're still within a touchdown. But holy crap, Trey Lance. People want to talk about overthrows. Trey Lance was overthrowing everything by miles. Like, geez, people wanted to talk about like, oh, well, he's going to come and try to prove himself. No, it was basically just like Carson Wentz last year. He didn't do much of anything at all.
Well, let's go ahead and let's go on over to the other half of this game, and let's go on over to Andrew. Andrew, was this a game that you felt like the Chargers needed to win, or did you want them to win, or were you looking at this one saying, really doesn't matter to me all that much?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter all that much. I think it was a little dog and pony show for Trey Lance, quite frankly. I think they're trying to get a comp pick because he's only on a 1-year contract. Hopefully, he didn't go out there and wet the bed, which he did, and looked absolutely abysmal as a quarterback. But interestingly, the backup offensive line played so much better than our starters. It was embarrassing, like how much better they played. Andre James, Joe Morley would know him, or he was our backup center for the Raiders. He gave up 1 pressure and 1 hurry the entire game. And I'll tell you right now, we are starting the 32nd ranked center in the NFL, right? Across the board, we're 32nd ranked. It is so sad. So on a great defense, the Broncos have a good defensive line. We actually performed way better than I even expected. And Trey Lance had a pretty clean pocket in the entire time and yet couldn't do anything. In fact, the Denver Broncos didn't even score a touchdown. They just kicked field goals, and we threw a pick 6, right? So, I really wanted to see Trey Lance do something, kind of prove that he deserves to be in the NFL. I don't think he did it. I mean, I'm not a huge evaluator of talent, but the eye test was like, wow, he didn't look that good. So, he needed to do it with his legs. He did. He rushed 69 yards, which is pretty interesting. Keenan Allen did get his bag, though. He got $1 million incentives. But if you look at the overall team stats, the Broncos only had 240 total yards. We had 217. Passing yards, 104. They had 124. And, I just think, bottom line, I know Ryan says the Broncos didn't really want to play, but again, it was our backups versus our number ones or versus the Denver's number ones. And they looked a little off. So I'm a little surprised that Denver didn't beat us by a lot more because we sure didn't look good offensively. But it was interesting. The offensive line protected, Trey Lance fairly well. The one thing I will say, and then I'll pass to the rest of the room, is that it's good to see the backups on our defensive side of the ball play so well, right? There's a lot of undrafted free agents, a lot of players that have not had any time to be on the field that were out there. I think it was either 6 or 8, depending on how you want to call starters and non-starters, but we pretty much sat most of the defense. It was a lot of the backups, the seconds and thirds that were out there the entire time. And they acquitted themselves well. They didn't allow an offensive touchdown, so I thought that was pretty impressive. But bottom line, the overall message, the overall reason that we did that was Justin Herbert has a broken hand. We got a lot of people that are banged up. Anyone who is remotely healthy or remotely banged up, they were not going to play, right? Anyone who we just don't want you getting hurt, they were not going to play. Derwin James, some of these other folks. So they're going to get ready for the playoffs, hopefully get healthy, get right, and get the best of the ones moving forward. It's going to be exciting. We'll see what happens.
Now, like I said earlier, obviously it's a Week 18 game, so Joe, Marcus, if you guys don't have a lot to add to this one, perfectly fine, but do want to open up the floor to both you guys in case there's anything that you did want to add to this game. Marcus, anything you want to add? Yeah, the only thing I'll say is, they got to play the backups of the Chargers. Last week, they got to play the backups of the Chiefs, and they just didn't look good. So, that's just something you have the Jacksonville game and you have the 2 back-to-back games against, I just don't think you're prepared enough to get into the playoffs, having to go for that domination of the Jacksonville game and then going into these 2 games. I just feel like these weren't the best, tune-up games before getting to the playoffs, and you didn't look good in these tune-up games either. So I just think that's something you got to be weary of going into it. Obviously, you're going to play the lowest possible seed in the playoffs, but still, it's going to be interesting to see how your offense kind of rebounds from it, because it just looks like the last 2 weeks been kind of
And, obviously vanilla game planning, but still just you guys should have taken care of business in a much bigger fashion.
Yeah, I will say it did look just vanilla, like the play calling, all this stuff compared to like when we played Green Bay, like just extremely vanilla. So I don't know. Maybe that's Sean's plan of just like, hey, we can get away with this because these teams are pretty bad, and we have a good chance of getting this 1 seed. So
yeah,
I just think it was a disgrace for the Chargers to go out there and just lay down like that. Like, why, when you have a chance to knock off a division opponent and not let them be number one in the conference, why aren't you going out there and doing it? I don't care if you're saving people for the playoffs. Like, no playoff game is guaranteed to win anyways. Like, even if you are 100% healthy, you had a chance to knock the Broncos off, and like you're now basically, if I'm playing the Chargers in the playoffs, I'm looking at it like, hey, they dropped week 18 because they wanted to pick who they wanted to play in the playoffs. They thought going to New England would be better than winning that game. They thought they could beat the Broncos at home later on in the playoffs if it comes down to it. Like, I'm looking at it going, laughing at it, and especially with what Tony Jefferson was saying after the game about the Broncos being soft and all that. Like, I think the Chargers put a huge target on their back going in here, laying down and doing this. I don't know. That's my opinion, is if you have a chance to knock off a division opponent and you have that chip going into the playoffs, why you should just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, but you got to remember the Chargers have been the most banged up team in the NFL, at least in this division. Justin Herbert has a broken hand. So I don't disagree with you. And actually, just so you know, Joe, I actually thought the exact same thing when they said they were going to sit everybody this week. But the more I thought about it, I just think a lot of these ones are kind of banged up. Everyone's beat up. It's week 18. It's a physical sport. So I don't disagree with you. But I kind of understand why they did it. I guess that's where I'm getting at.
I think they just didn't want to play the Jags.
Which is fair.
I think the Jags are the hottest team in the AFC for sure.
Well,
sure.
There's history with Justin Herbert playing the Jags, especially in Jacksonville. They're his boogeyman.
We could write Trey Lance off now, right? We could say that experiment.
I think we could write him off after like year one.
Wow. But the crazy thing about Trey Lance, he's 25. He's only started like 35 total games, even college, right? So I feel like he should have just stayed in college a little longer. He came out a little too early. I don't know. He's got talent, but man, he just can't put it together. So
the injury subsided him too, and then mentally he was a step up. He's just been playing catch up ever since he first entered the league, and it just killed his entire career. But before we get on into the next game, I want to get into your very, very generous super chats. Appreciate all you guys for going that extra mile to support the channel. We got Darius coming in who says, "Don't worry. The Chiefs are going to be back. It's crazy how rivalry teams having a great season, but they still not better than us because we show in and show out when we win this season. Can y'all do the same?" So Darius coming in, giving some heat to the rest of the division, saying, you know what? We're down this year, but don't get used to it. Don't get used to it. We'll certainly see. We'll certainly see next year. Dylan comes in, good friend here of Roundtable Sports, $10 donation, says, the truth is the AFC is just getting a participation trophy this year. The NFC is clearly better, and that San Francisco team that got BTA by Seattle would beat the Pats or Broncos. NFC West Roundtable, man. Shout out to our guy Dylan, bringing in some absolute heat. We love it when you guys go to every single roundtable and talk your crap. Absolutely love it. That's what Roundtable Sports is all about, baby. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and let's get into the final game here from Week 18. Talked about it a little bit already, but Marcus, Joe, if there's anything that you guys want to add to this one, obviously the Kansas City Chiefs do fall to the Raiders 14-12, a close one, an ugly one. Marcus, we'll start with you. Anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I mean, losing gave us the 9th pick. If the Saints had beaten the Falcons, we'd been the 8th pick. But I'm not going to complain. I wasn't expecting to be in the top 10 of this draft going into the season. But yeah, this game we got a solid glimpse of some of the guys that may have roles next year. I know Brashard Smith was the guy we drafted in the 7th round from SMU. We've been waiting to see him. He finally got a showcase in this game. Looked pretty good. Averaged around 5 yards a carry. And that's a guy, hopefully, next year when we do add a running back in free agency, hopefully he's our third down back guy, a change of pace dude. I love that. And then also our two cornerbacks which I mentioned last week, who kind of dominated the Broncos receivers last week, in Christian Fulton and Noah Williams. Those are two guys who I think we can probably move on from Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie in the offseason and let those guys be our DB1 and 2. And you can trade McDuffie, get some assets. I've seen some experts say we can get a first and a fourth for him, or a second and fifth for McDuffie. And I say do that, because I do not want to pay Trent McDuffie. And I think Christian Fulton and Noah Williams really displayed what they can do these last 2 weeks. So I loved what I saw from those guys. Also, shout out right guard Hunter Norzad. We drafted him from Penn State last year. Finally started in his first official start. Looked pretty dang good at right guard. I think he started at the end of last year in that game against the Broncos. At center, showing his versatility. Played right guard yesterday or on Sunday and looked phenomenal. So saw some nice glimpses into next year. But the guys I wanted to see from Fulton and Knoll, they continue their performance from the Broncos game and look pretty damn good. So excited to see what we can do with some of these guys, and I'm very curious to see what we do with the secondary in the offseason. So I do not want us paying McDuffie at all. I want us to get assets for him. So
it's going to be really fun to talk about a lot of the teams here in the AFC West in the offseason and just some of these moves. What do these creators feel like is best for their teams in roster construction and free agency and trades and drafts? We're going to be talking about all of that this offseason here on the channel. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so that you get notified every single time that we go live, so you guys can get in on the discussion. But Joe, let's go on over to you. Any other details you wanted to add about this one?
I mean, I guess I'm glad that Aiden O'Connell got to play, so people can finally stop talking about how he could be the future franchise quarterback of the Raiders. And like, that was like one thing that I kept hearing from Raider fans is, if Aiden O'Connell was in there, we'd win all these games. So finally they got to see, like, hey, he's not that good. I wish Eric Stokes would have got that interception. I think he caught it out of bounds, but he's had a quiet, great year for the Raiders, and I think he's gone underlooked as one of the top cornerbacks this year and underrated signing. So I like that, and not really much to take out of it. Like, I mean, I guess Daniel Carlson had a bad year, and he ended up with a good note. So I didn't really go into this game or look at this game as anything more than a preseason game of like, okay, let's get the win and move on. And finally, I'm just glad the season's over. Like, that's the main thing. We made it through the season. Whew.
You made it through the season, Joe. It's officially over. I mean, again, what a whirlwind it is. And I feel like sometimes there's fan bases that look back and they're like, you beat this team week 1. You lost to this team week 1. It's like week 1 doesn't mean anything. Like, look at the Raiders. Beat the Patriots week 1. How did that go for them? The Patriots won week 1 of 2024 against the Bengals. How did that go for them? Week 1 clearly doesn't mean anything. And just what a crazy story it's been for the Raiders from week 1 to where it is in the final week, man. Truly a change of momentum. Ryan, Andrew, let's go on up to you guys. If there's any other details you wanted to add about this one. Ryan, let's start with you.
I'll be honest, I didn't really watch this game. I was
Fair.
focused on
Fair.
Broncos and what was going on that day. I will say this. I was happy for the Raiders because now everybody in the AFC West got a lick back on the Chiefs. Even if it helped the Chiefs in their draft position, I was happy the Raiders could end off the season getting a win and still getting the number 1 overall pick, because I still know that they'll screw it up. But it was. I saw your guys' video with the Fernando one, so that was kind of cool to see. Just because I do have a soft spot for Samoan, I was gonna thank him for everything, and also thank you, Raiders, for beating the Patriots in week 1, which allowed us to get the 1 seed.
Yeah, there was a lot of factors that went into that one, but that game did definitely have repercussions, man. So never thought I'd see Ryan thank the Raiders, but it happened.
Only when it helps us. Only
when it helps you guys. That's fair. I respect that. Andrew, let's go on over to you. Any other details about this one you wanted to add?
Yeah, it's just interesting. Look, it's tough to win games in the NFL, guys. I mean, we could sit back all day and say teams are, dominant this, dominant that. I mean, look at the Broncos. The Broncos were 11-1 in 1-score games, something like that nature, right? So the Chiefs were that way last year. Look, the Raiders beat the Patriots, right? And that was week 1. Week 1, I think, is a crapshoot. You never really know what your team is going to be. So just enjoy winning and enjoy every game you have and get to watch your team. Bottom line, I just think it's interesting. So, look, the Raiders, boy, I didn't think they were going to beat the Chiefs, but boy, they did. So it's exciting. So I don't know. I didn't think much of it, but I think it was an interesting. I didn't pick them to win. So good on you there, Joe. You got to win, buddy. You feel good, right?
Yeah, and I can't believe Ryan missed out on this. I mean, you don't want to go back and watch 8 field goals and a safety.
I mean, it's a barn burner, dude. That's.
I mean, it was a rough watch. It was a rough watch.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
That's about what I expected. So
I will say, Bengals fans are really pissed off about the outcome of that game because you guys beating us allowed us to jump them in the top 10 race. So we have the 9th, they have the 10th pick, and they were really mad.
Interesting.
Wow. So even when you guys are both out of the playoffs, Bengals fans are finding ways to still hate the Chiefs, man. How crazy!
We still find ways to beat them. Yep.
How crazy is that, man? Every single damn year. But all right, guys, this is where we kick it off to you. What are your thoughts about this game? Let us know in the comment section below. We got one more big segment to get into now that we are officially talking postseason football, baby. Playoff football is officially here, and we got the Chargers. We got the New England Patriots to talk about. But before we do that, want to give a big shout out to our other sponsor of today's video. That is our good friends over at RotoWire. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be placing your bets here on some playoff football, as you should. Have a little bit of extra fun this playoff season, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with RotoWire, who's going to make sure that you guys win all of your parlays, all of your player props, and everything in between. Because let's be honest, you don't want your teams to lose, but what you also don't want is you also don't want to lose money. So let's at least make sure we can do something about half of that equation, and let's make some money this postseason. What RotoWire is going to do is they're going to tell you, guys, that they want you to take the over on and the under on every single week. For example, this week, they want you to take the over on Drake May passing yards of 235.5. They also want you to take the over on Jalen Hurts rushing yards of 27.5, but they want you to take the under on George Kittle receiving yards of 62.5. You can get in on this and so much more right now with RotoWire. Link in the description box below. The best possible tool to, again, put together your player props and your parlays every single week. And right now, you can get 15% off when you use the promo code RTS. Remember that supporting the sponsors, that supports the channel, supports everybody here, not just at the AFC West Roundtable, but everybody at Roundtable Sports. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and let's get into what everybody has been waiting for. We are talking about the number 7 seed Chargers against the number 2 seed New England Patriots. The Chargers are going to be traveling to Foxborough to play in the frigid weather, kind of giving flashbacks there to 2018 Tom Brady vibes where Sony Michel, Andrew, just running all over that defense. Not to give you any PTSD, but Andrew, we want to kick this one off to you. What are you expecting to happen in this one? Because as you know, it's either you win or you go home.
Yeah, it's exciting. That game, I remember specifically Joey Bosa getting all pissed off at Tom Brady because he kept throwing the ball under 2 seconds. He's like, man, you got to hold on that ball a little longer so I can sack you. He's like, why would I do that? Anyways, but I digress. Look, I think this is a good matchup for the Chargers in a lot of ways, right? So we all know the Patriots have a great offense. They're awesome, right? They do a great job. Their defense is really just solid at really the pass, about 10th in pass yards allowed, almost 200 yards. I think the Chargers, match up well from an offensive perspective against the Patriots defense. Where I think we match up also very well is the Patriots don't have a great offensive line, and we have a very good defensive line and whole defensive front in general, right? We're actually top of the pack. I think right now we're actually, if you look at the past 5 games, we're giving up the least amount of points of any team in the NFL the last 5 games. So I think the defense is really clicking. So I think the defense could stop really what the Patriots want to do moving forward. But again, Drake May has been fantastic. Right now, everyone's thinking he's the MVP candidate, 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns. I think he has the highest completion rating or passer rating. I think it's 113.5, which is amazing. 72% completion percentage. Insane. So again, if that defense can slow that offense down, I think we win. If we don't, then we're going to struggle. But like I said, I truly believe, the Patriots also, their defense does not rush the passer very well. And since we have a booty defense or offensive line, as we all know, and Justin Herbert's been dry humped up and down the field, we match up very well offensively and defensively against the Patriots. So we'll see how it plays out. I will say one other last thing too. The AFC, I feel like, is completely wide open. I think every team in the AFC has an opportunity to win it. I don't see a team that's completely dominant. I see teams that are very good. It's just really going to boil down to how they execute in the playoffs. And you're right, win and go home, and it's going to be an interesting one. I'm excited. I like the idea that the Chargers are going to be healthy for this game, as healthy as they possibly can be, I should say. But it's an exciting one. I think this will be good. It'll be good TV. So I'm excited to watch it.
And Andrew, I do have to ask you, what is your concern level and how much do you think this narrative is legit about the Chargers and Justin Herbert's ability to play in cold weather? Because statistically speaking, we have seen that Herbert's performance does dip in adverse weather. So what are your thoughts in traveling to Foxborough, where it is constantly frigid, constantly below 30 degrees, where the Patriots are adapted to playing in that type of weather, as were the Chargers? It's really the exact opposite.
Yeah, I would say it's an edge for the Patriots for sure. I definitely, look, grew up in LA, right? I grew up in LA and San Diego. I was used to 75-degree weather. I was in Arizona, 75-degree weather. Cold weather sucks. Your hands get cold. You don't grip the ball the same way. I think it's definitely a factor. But, again, I think the Chargers are going to have Brian Hampton back. They're going to try and run the ball a lot of, 10 and 22 personnel. They're just going to try and power the ball downhill. So we'll see if they can stop the Chargers running game. But, again, I think it'll be a factor. We'll see how it plays out.
Certainly going to be interesting to see how this one plays out, and also how healthy are both of these teams, because both have dealt with a lot of injuries. So this team also could very well come down to, all right, who's just the most healthy when it's all said and done. But Ryan,
actually, I will say one last thing too, Colby. And my brother James would absolutely annihilate me if I didn't say this. The Patriots have not played a lot of top tier defenses. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Colby. Is that true? Is that not true?
They've played a few top 10 defenses. Like they've played the Saints, who are top 10 in total defense, the Bills twice, who are top 10 in total defense, and then the Browns, who are also top 10 in total defense.
So the big difference is the Chargers they're statistically just shutting teams down, right? Look what we did to the Broncos. So I think that's, again, going to be the huge test. And the knock against the Patriots that I've seen, no matter what, is that they haven't played anybody difficult. They have, I think, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, the 32nd strength of schedule, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Pretty close. So this is really are they really wearing the big boy pants, or they just get an easy walk into the playoffs? Now, again, I still think they're a fantastic team, regardless of what happens, Chargers and Patriots. The Chargers are more weathered, and they've been through higher level of competition, in my opinion. And I think that's the big difference in this one as well, too. So it's one of the conversations I had with James. I just remembered it. That was one of the things I wanted to say. So just my final thoughts.
Absolutely. Ryan, let's go on over to you. What are your thoughts on this one, and what are you predicting to happen?
This is like a really important game for the Broncos because, we could end up facing the Chargers. And I'm really just excited to watch Herbert and May go head to head. And I think these teams are both very well evenly matched. The Chargers, as much shit as I talk about them, and the Patriots, Colby, them having such an easy ass schedule. We have the third easiest schedule as well, but they win games and they do look dominant. Now, will it translate in the playoffs? And because I don't know really how tested they are, because when they did get tested and they blew it to Buffalo, it's kind of showing signs, and that's why I do have faith in my Broncos, because it may not look glamorous, but we can still pull out the dub. And I think the Chargers will win this, but I'm hoping the Patriots do, so Herbert still doesn't have a playoff win.
What a hater! What a hater!
Is that
D1 hater? I don't care. D1. Yeah, I hope, and it'd be so great just to know that Bo Nix in his second year made it to divisional, and Herbert hasn't even made it that far at all, or even has a single win. Even if we lose in the divisional, Bo still made it farther.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong here, but if the Chargers win, then you would play the Chargers. But if the Patriots win, then you would play the winner of Bills and Jags.
Yes, I believe so.
Yep.
Well, that's certainly going to be interesting. Either way, it's definitely going to be a fun matchup. Me personally, if I'm a Broncos fan, I would want the Chargers to win. I would want the Chargers to win in that case. But Marcus, let's go down to you. What are your thoughts on this one? What are you projecting to happen?
I will say naturally the inclination is to say, it's going to be a cold weather game that really suits the Patriots. And obviously it does, but I will say, just being a Chiefs fan, seeing the Chargers in the Harbaugh era come to Kansas City and play us close in winter. I mean, like a couple weeks ago, we played them that ugly 16-13 game where Mahomes got hurt. That was like a 30-degree game. It was cold as heck that day. So like, and with Harbaugh's style of offense, that kind of, it's not high flying that passing attack. They can go gritty and run the ball 40 times and, and kind of play in that element. So I do think it's still, it's a Patriots thing there, but I will say I'm not going to say, oh, it's a cold game. The Patriots are going to dominate. And I'll say this too. I know a lot of people, it's a misnomer that the Patriots have this like bad defense. I mean, they're top 10 total yards, top 10 pass D, top 6 run D, top 4 scoring D in the league this year. And I think a lot of people just think that Patriots are just this high-flying offense. Their defense sucks. I mean, not really. I will say the only thing that what Andrew did say was the fact that the sacks-wise ranked 22nd in the league in sacks this year. So I will say that's obviously problematic. However, we are also tied with you as a top 20 or as tied 22nd in sacks this year. And we had our biggest sack day against the Chargers in that wintery game in December. We had 4 sacks that day. That was our highest amount of sacks we had in the game this year. And that was against this banged up offensive line the Chargers have. So I do think it's going to lean more so Patriots, but I think it's going to be a really ugly and gritty game. I don't think it's going to be a high-flying attack. What's the 46.5 is the total points for this game? So, yeah, I mean, I could see that being, like 17-10 kind of game. Yeah, but a really ugly game. And I think it was 20 degrees in Foxborough Sunday night and potentially icy weather. So ugly, man. Gonna be an ugly one.
It's been snowing a lot there. This certainly is a game that could come down to who runs the football the best. As we know, obviously the Chargers dealing with a lot of injuries, also dealing with injuries in the backfield. We'll say the Patriots running back game. I mean, you look at the overall numbers, they were one of the worst in the league to start, but over the last few weeks, they've actually been one of the top rushing offenses in the league. Ramondre Stevenson coming off a game, 7 carries, 131 yards, and 3 total touchdowns. That's not even to talk about Travion Henderson, who was averaging over 4 yards per carry. So certainly going to be a tough battle between both of these teams that really do secretly have a lot of parallels between both of these teams. But Joe, let's go on over to you. Wrap us up with this one. What are your thoughts and who are you going to take?
Yeah, I was going to say what you said about the running backs for the New England Patriots. They got a 2-headed monster right there. And anytime I look at the Chargers, even though they have a great defense, I think if you could run all over them, you have a very good chance. And I think people are underestimating Drake May, and they're looking down at the Patriots schedule and going, hey, it's a bad schedule. They had an easy schedule and they got to win a lot and play down to their opponents. Like, I don't look at it that way. NFL, like you said, it's hard to win games in the NFL, and you are playing the top of the top every single week. And I can't believe I'm going to do this because I'm a Raider fan. Josh McDaniels is a very good offensive coordinator, and he is going to put his players in the position of where they need to be, and if they execute it, they can get it. And if I'm the Charger fans, I'm worried about this because you have so much expectations on your team, and you guys have built your team up, and another first-round exit it just can't happen. But I love to see it happen because why not? I love to see Charger fans cry, and let's face it, I get a lot of views from that. So I'll take the New England Patriots in this one.
Joe is going to take the New England Patriots in this one. I didn't think I'd hear a Raiders fan say something positive about Josh McDaniels for a while. So, Joe, I give you a lot of respect for that one because we know a lot of Raiders players don't like Josh McDaniels either. So, getting that respect, that took a lot. That took a lot. I give respect for that. But, all right, guys, let's go. We got one super chat to get into before we log on off for the day. $5 super chat. Chargers 27-17. Minter's defense will shine. Herbie will win, and Broncos, your offense is ass. You one and done, buddy. Damn.
Keep that same energy. They
wanted us to get to the super chat very much in the live chat. So wanted to make sure we got to this. Bringing the smoke. We'll see if that smoke does reign champion in next week's episode. Of course, make sure you guys do stay tuned. Make sure you guys like the video on your way out. Subscribe here to the AFC West Roundtable if you haven't already, because again, We will be here next Tuesday live, same time, same place, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, to break down this game. What happens with the Chargers? Are they going to be facing the Denver Broncos? Will they advance to the next round of the playoffs? Or are the Broncos going to be the only team left in the AFC West that is still in the running for a Lombardi Trophy? All this and so much more to get into next week, so make sure you guys stay tuned. Appreciate you guys for watching. As always, I am Colby Cochran, the host here of the AFC West Roundtable show, brought to you by Roundtable Sports. But until next week, we appreciate you guys for watching. Stay safe.
Roundtable Sports Network is your one-stop shop for all things NFL, with daily live shows covering all 8 divisions in the league, hosted by the best content creators on the web, all on one network. Catch the AFC East live every Monday at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. The AFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. The AFC North Roundtable live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. The AFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. The NFC East Roundtable live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. The NFC West Roundtable live at 9 p.m. on Tuesday nights. The NFC North Roundtable is at 6 p.m. on Wednesdays, and the NFC South Roundtable is live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. EST. And of course, fourth and forever, the flagship show of Roundtable Sports Network, covering all things NFL at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Roundtable Sports YouTube channel. Real coverage, real fans.